everyone, and welcome to the June 13th, 2019 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time open up the floor to public comment. Okay, hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3. And I'll call on Tammy Bender to discuss the budget resolution 2019-17 regarding budget adjustments. Tammy, oh, there you are.
Finance is requesting approval of 1 budget resolutions for the Office of Aging. They're increasing revenues $179,437 and expenses by $139,437. This budget resolution is correcting Lawson to match their revised state budget for 18-19. There's no impact to the general fund.
Any questions for Tammy?
No.
Thank you, Tammy. In essence, to save time, commissioners, there are several presenters today that have multiple agenda items, so we're going to try to group them together because I know Bob has to get back up to public safety. So agenda item 4 will begin with discussion of resolution 2019-18 regarding the Hexagon Intergraph Corporation project. This resolution was prepared to delegate limited authority to the Director of Public Safety to approve certain change orders associated with the Hexagon project. The Director of Public Safety shall have the authority to approve and execute change orders, modifications, and or revisions to the project as it proceeds, provided that a request change has no monetary effect on the project, or provided that no single change order shall result in a change, increase, or decrease in cost in excess of $7,000. Delegation of this authority shall terminate at such time as the aggregate total sum of change orders, increase or decrease, approved by him reaches a limit of $35,000. This is similar to the change order that we have provided to Kirk in the planning department. So on Monday, we would ask approval of this resolution and go from there. Bob, do you have anything you need to add?
No, I don't believe, but that would help us manage the project, and if there's small adjustments throughout the project, that would let us stay on track and keep moving with quicker turnarounds.
Do you have any questions?
No, just the hope is, of course, this was an extensive contract, pretty large contract. But the hope is that we keep the change orders to a minimum. And I have no problem with this, providing for giving you some modest authority. We don't get the small change orders, but the big ones, if there are, hopefully there will not be any. If they come back to us. So anyway, I'm fine with the resolution.
Okay.
Gary, you okay?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so in keeping with Bob, we'll move on to agenda item 6 regarding the Sarah Summit donations. And then we will address agenda item 7, discussion of an engagement letter with Mary Booth.
Okay, Public Safety asking the board's approval to receive sponsorship money from the following agencies to help offset the cost of hosting our annual Local Emergency Planning Committee Sarah Summit being held in October. We have Bucks County Community College, a bronze sponsor for $265. Lancaster Oil Company, a gold sponsor for $1,000. And Halen Hardy LLC, a bronze sponsor for $265. This event is for area businesses, first responders, and elected officials, again, to learn how to be better prepared for an emergency. And we do appreciate these agencies supporting this event. We do ask your approval to receive this sponsorship money, and it will be applied towards the summit.
Any questions on that, Commissioner?
We're getting a lot of sponsors compared to past years. Whoever's getting that good job.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really kind of a big event.
Right, we're trying to make sure that the sponsors do end up with a zero balance, so we continue to expand the conference and monitor the sponsors to make sure that it kind of equals the amount of the conference. So, but obviously, the more sponsors we have, the more we can offer with the conference, and speakers and things with the conference. So, good with that? The next item, Public Safety is requesting your signatures and approval on the engagement letter from Mayor Dussel. They're the certified public accountants. This firm was contracted by PEMA, the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, to conduct an audit of the 2017 and 2018 financial statements for the 911 program, specifically our Cumberland County 911 fund. The objective of the audit is an expression of opinion and whether our financial statements are fairly presented, free of material misstatement, and in compliance with the provision of all laws, regulations, contracts, agreements, and grants. This is the same firm that was contracted in 2017 to perform this same auditing process for all counties in 2015 and 2016, and once again contracted to do 2017 and 2018 for all the counties. Mayor Dussel will begin the audit in June, and will have finalized their findings by December 31st of 2019. And then upon completion of the audit, we'll get the written report to PEMA as well as Cumberland County. Brian McCall is once again our engagement partner, and he's responsible for supervising the engagement and signing the report. This is PEMA's third-party audit for our funds, and there's no cost to Cumberland County.
Are there any questions on that?
No.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Robert.
Okay, next we'll move on to agenda item 5, contracts and grants. Hello?
Good morning, Commissioners. Agenda items 5, Roman numeral 1A through E are existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county, and they include the following departments: Children and Youth Services, Drug and Alcohol, MHIDD, Prison, and Tax Assessment Agreement. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of the above mentioned agreements?
No.
Thanks. Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 5, Roman numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county. We'll start with aging and community service agreements with Joan Paul.
Good morning. Just one this morning. The Central PA Food Bank has received an additional allocation from the state for the 2018-2019 contract year of $5,170.56.
Are there any questions for Joan? Hearing none, thank you, Joan. Next, Lisa Ryder will discuss the 9 agreements for children and youth. Lisa?
Good morning, Commissioners. I would ask approval for 9 agreements. The first one is for fiscal year 18-19. Community Specialist Corporation, doing business as the Academy. They are a program that specializes in mental health and DNA programs. It's located out in Pittsburgh. We don't use them very much. They're asking for a 3% increase, and that ranges anywhere between $6.41 and $8.19. In the current fiscal year, we've only had one child there for 12 days, and JPO had one child for 6 days. The next one is Alternative Behavior Consultants. They're asking for a 1.5% increase in 7 of their programs. That ranges from $1 to $1.50. This is a program that does our visitation, our parenting skills and training. The next one is Central PA Family Services. They're an in-home program. They help families with connecting to resources like medical assistance, helping them with housing, transportation. They're asking for a 5% increase, which is $3.75. They've not asked for an increase since 2011. This is the first time asking. The next one is Family Care Services. This is a foster care program. They're asking for 3% through 8.5%, which ranges from 84 cents to $3.64. Most of their increases will go directly to the foster parents in this rate increase request. The next one is Hempfield Behavioral Services. This is for an in-home service. They provide, the only change in this contract is $60 was an hourly rate for an interpreter, and it was worded differently in the contract last year. We haven't had the need to use an interpreter for this service. Also, this is an MA funded services, and if it's not funded through MA, we fund it through our special grants. And PA Child Court, this is a foster care program. They're asking for a 5% increase, ranging from $3.56 to $6.47. We have one child there in fiscal year 18-19. It's a it's a place that would take our very difficult to place children in foster care. The last one on there is York County Development. They didn't have an increase, so I'm not sure if it just got placed in the wrong area. And then for the affiliation agreement, I brought Lori Ruddy, who is our quality assurance program specialist, to speak regarding that one.
In the fall, we are anticipating hosting a grad school student through the Master of Social Work program in order to work with them. Miller's Fellowship is for universities are requiring an affiliation agreement. There's no cost to the county for that.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary, can you hear the present presenters?
Yes, I can hear pretty well. I can control the volume on my speakers. I have
Okay.
several speakers, so it's great.
Good, thanks. Thanks, Lisa.
Next, Melissa Smith will be joining us via teleconferencing to discuss Claremont Nursing Home. Melissa?
Can't read this.
Better?
That's better.
Can you hear me?
Got you now.
Okay, I'm sorry, good morning. I have 3 contracts before you this morning, they're all from AmeriHealth, Cardia's Health Plan. This is the first of the MCO's managed Medicaid contracts. The first, the ancillary provider services, is for now for anyone who doesn't qualify for Medicaid, they'll go under this agreement for the first 30 days till we get them on Medicaid. The second one is the addendum that comes January 1st, 2020. They will provide us, we have a 1-year contract instead of a 3-year, which is what the MCOs were pushing. And the rate is, the expected rate is the last 4 quarters of the, what we've been getting from the state. And the third one is a Medicare Advantage program through AmeriHealth Cardia's Health Plan, and it's 100% of what Medicare would pay. They're all revenue contracts.
Are there any questions for Melissa?
Oh, good.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Eric Radnovich is here to discuss the PCCD grant for justice assistance and the thermoelectron agreement for the VA forensic lab. And the PCCD grant is action requested for today. Eric?
Good morning, Commissioners. The grant before you is a second-year grant for the PCCD Justice Assistance Grant. It's for the amount of $97,563, and it will purchase ballistic detection equipment for latent evidence in the laboratory.
Any questions on the grant for Eric?
And that's due tomorrow, so I have to get that over.
Yeah, we'll need an action requested for that. That grant is due tomorrow.
When did you find out about it, that we have to take action immediately?
It was 3 weeks ago, but as quick as I can get it done.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the request for the Justice Assistance Continuation Grant. That's the one we're talking about.
Yes.
From PCCD in the amount of $97,563.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the second piece is a contract for some laboratory equipment, it's our annual service contract for forensic toxicology and forensic chemistry. The amount of $26,686. I'm sorry, it's $28,140. That's a $1,451 increase over last year.
Are there any questions for Eric?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we'll move to Jack Carroll, who will be discussing the Health Choices Agreement with the CABHC. Jack?
Good morning, Commissioners. This morning, we're asking for your approval of a updated contract with the Capital Area Behavioral Health Collaborative, or CABHC. As you recall, that's the nonprofit corporation that we set up to manage the behavioral health choices program for medical assistance recipients from Cumberland, Perry, Dauphin, Lebanon, and Lancaster counties. This is actually the last step in completing a transition that we started last fall, moving from 5 separate contracts with the Department of Human Services to a single contract. And that single contract will be held by CABHC. It will eliminate a lot of unnecessary administrative costs. In order to do that, each county has to contract with CABHC, and there will be 5 of those contracts, but they'll be identical contracts, and it eliminates the state requirement for what we have been doing is 6 separate audits. So this, the new contract period will be for at least 5 years, mirroring the new contract period that DHS is entering into. And the recommendation is from both myself and Andy Strite, the MHID administrator, as representatives of yours to CABHC.
Are there any questions for Jack?
No.
Yeah, a while back, there was a discussion about changing the membership makeup of CABHC. Everything has remained the same, right?
Yeah, there was some discussion of changing the bylaws and the voting structure, and that was successfully
Withdrawn.
Yes, that's
So in other words, in terms of the, our voting power, we're on an equitable basis with everybody else.
we are moving forward with the same voting structure. That was essentially resolved when we all 5 counties acted on an updated intergovernmental cooperation agreement. And we'll all be entering essentially identical contracts with CABHC.
I was just, since we're entering into another 5-year agreement, I just want to make sure that was settled.
Sure.
The other question I had was, are you hearing any rumblings at all about, the potential legislative threat to eliminate the carve-out?
There's still a statewide coalition that's looking at that very carefully. It seems pretty clear that the identical legislative bills that were introduced in the House and the Senate don't have support. They may not even get on the agenda for consideration in their committees, the initial committees. However, there is some discussion, and you may have seen this as well from the County Commissioners Association, an attempt to insert as part of the budget process an amendment into the fiscal code that would try to bring about a version of that challenge to the county's right of first opportunity to manage behavioral health services. What we're hearing is that there's no support for that as well, and it's not likely to proceed.
Well, good to keep an eye on that. This is funny time over at the Capitol right
When is not fun time?
Or silly time, or whatever, right?
All right.
You know, the point is that, you know, the carve-out has benefited the citizens of Cumberland County, and, you know, I think we need to maintain the local input, the county input on you know, programs that provide a benefit. I mean, we are, you know, we have the warm handoff program now at all of our hospitals in Cumberland County, which is, you know, made possible in part because of the, you know,
The provider that's providing those services
Just for
was
the-
started with reinvestment funding through
That's-
CAB.
So, you know, I think the citizens of our county have reaped a benefit as opposed to the money going to for-profit insurance companies. And I think that's where we are. So it's important for us to keep an eye on that, you know, over the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Mary, did you have any questions?
No, those were good questions.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
Next, Holly Sherman will discuss 3 agreements for the human resources, followed by agenda item 10, a discussion to authorize advertisement for RFP for labor council, and then agenda item number 11, applications and plan agreements for the 457 deferred compensation plan with ICMA RC. Holly?
Good morning. The first contract we have is with DHS. We've been with our current wellness provider for about 4 or 5 years now, and in that time, they have changed names and hands a couple of times, which has resulted in confusion for the employee population on who they should send their information to for the wellness requirements. And additionally, due to the transitions, we've seen a decrease in the level of customer service. So earlier this year, the staff, along with our insurance broker, engaged in an RFP for wellness services and reviewed several different companies, had interviews, on-site demos of the product, and we are recommending that we move forward with DHS effective 1/1/20. This would result in an approximate annual savings of about $25,000 over the current vendor, and that does not factor in the wellness credit which we receive from our health insurance carrier of $35,000. Any questions on that?
I do have one question. So we still are seeing the same rate of rate relief from the insurance provider simply by offering the program?
We are getting $35,000 a year to put specifically towards a wellness program from our insurance carrier, yes.
Oh, that works. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's
The reason I asked is a few weeks ago I had circulated an article to everybody, I think I sent it to you as well, Holly, regarding a major study that was done that questioned the rate of success of wellness programs in general. And, you know, I'm curious how the industry is going to respond to that, and if that would maybe adjust some of their practices. But if we undertake this now, we'll still be assured of those benefits from the provider.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right, that's good enough for me.
Glad we're making a change, because me personally, I've had issues going through that each year. You get through it, but it should be something should be easy for you.
Yeah, we're really excited about the new vendor. They have a good product.
Yeah, I've heard of BHS. Good, thank you.
The next is a letter of engagement with Capardi, Ferguson, Wyrick, Lease, and Stockler. This is an attorney group who will be assisting us with the exiting of civil service to begin effective July 1st with a not to exceed of $5,000 on that.
We had discussed that previously.
And the last contract is an addendum to our current labor attorney contract which expires at the end of this month. And this would be extending the contract to the end of this year to give us the opportunity to conduct an RFP for labor council services, which is the next discussion item I have. Any questions on the addendum?
Just a couple of brief comments. I'm not going to belabor this, but My suggestion is that we extend the existing contract through the middle of next year to permit the successor board of commissioners to determine who they want for labor council. So, I would like to see, essentially the contract extended for a year, from June 30 to June 30 next year, and then the RFP process occur at the beginning of next year.
How you, as mentioned before, this would be disruptive, should we change labor council?
It could, but then our solicitor offered up that we could just contract with our current labor council specifically for negotiations if that was the desire of the board. So we do have options at this point in time. Or we could, I don't want to be greedy, but we could extend it for 18 months. That would get us through the negotiation cycle next year. And we do have the opportunity that we can go back and adjust the addendum before Monday if that's the desire of the board to do so. So we have flexibility of doing 6, 12, 18 months, whichever the board is comfortable with.
Holly, which is your recommendation?
My recommendation would, the least disruptive would be to extend the current 18 months to get us through the negotiation cycle next year.
Okay. I'm happy with that recommendation.
That's an alternative I could support as well.
Same here.
Okay, well, so then I can work with our, I can get an amendment to the addendum before Monday. And then that would negate the discussion item for the RFP until a year from now,
Right.
which is the next one.
And that would negate any confusion, should we change council. All right, I'm fine.
Okay.
Gary, you're good, I think, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that.
All right,
Okay.
good enough.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Then
Holly.
the last discussion item I have is several forms and applications which are in line with our transition to the new 457B provider, ICMA-RC. They're standard applications and forms which have been reviewed by our solicitor. We've worked with Marquette Associates, our co-fiduciary, to complete the forms, as well as the transition team from our ICMA-RC. Any specific questions on the applications or questions or concerns on those forms?
Questions?
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you, Holly. Next, we'll move to Kurt Stoner, who will discuss the agreement for the Central PA Conservancy, followed by agenda item 8, the sample bridge construction easement, and agenda item 9, the closure of Sheepford Road Bridge, and agenda item 14, the bid results for Bishop Road Emergency Access Road Project. Kurt?
Commissioner's first item here is the Central Pennsylvania Conservancy. It's a land partnerships grant. It's actually from last year. We had to work out some contractual issues with Central Pennsylvania Conservancy and then the Diacon Water Center, who's actually the recipient. We're looking at securing a 170-acre conservation easement across Diacon's property. It's a $70,000 land partnerships grant. Again, that's from last year, but we're just getting to the project. Okay, next one here is the Sample Bridge construction easement. As you're aware, we're moving through Sample Bridge. We have a construction easement, temporary construction easement with Silver Spring Township. That's our last easement, so then we can close out our right-of-way on the project. Their solicitor had worked with our solicitor to put together an agreement that's been reviewed by HRG. I took a look at it and we provided it to you. So that would be our last piece of right-of-way that we have secured to move forward with that project.
That's good news.
All right, next one, closure of Sheepford Road Bridge over the Yellow Bridge. So I provided you a memo from Brian Ember, who works for HRG, it's our county bridge engineer, but also is the bridge engineer now for York County. So we're sharing the same bridge engineer. Sheepford Road is located in Lower Island Township. It's a jointly owned bridge between York and Cumberland counties. York County has the lead on that bridge. This is real similar, if you recall, Bishop Bridge in Upper Island Township that we did recently. We're looking at potentially closing this in the future. It's in very poor shape, as you can see. It's a number 2 critical condition out of PennDOT's rating system. Number 1 is imminent failure, so we're just above that. Very low ADT, it's under 300. It's posted at 3 tons now, so we're not seeing any impacts to emergency services. There's a readily available detour as well. So this is similar to what we did with Bishop Bridge of making a policy statement from both boards of commissioners, potentially saying we're not going to invest in this bridge in the future, but as it continues to deteriorate, we would close the bridge in the future. So York County sent this on to us. Their board of commissioners is looking at it as well. Wanted to present it to you, not looking for any sort of action today, but just answer any questions, and we'll work with Keith. I'm sure there's a process through the county code that we have to follow when we get to that point of closing the bridge.
And I take it, Kurt, I see here there's less than 300 vehicles per day.
Yes.
Impact. I'm sure there's other ways. The bridge doesn't. There's other ways to get people around without crossing the bridge.
Correct. There's other roads that are, convenient detours, and also we're making a major investment in the Slate Hill Road Bridge, which is within a few miles of this. We're going to full rehab. That's going to be a multi-million-dollar project. So there are alternatives for the residents to live there. I would say, as we discuss this, we do want to discuss it with Lower Island Township. I had some initial discussions with staff on that, and make sure we get their concerns on the table. We can work with them on that. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Oh, the last one. Okay, the last one here. Lose track of
14.
14. Thank you. 15 on mine, but I'll take 14.
Okay.
Okay, so the last one is the Bishop Road Emergency Access Road Project related to the project we just mentioned. We opened bids for that last week. We had 4 bidders. The lowest responsible bidder was Kinsley from York at a price of $311,000. That was 5% under our engineer's estimate, so we felt it was a good bid. Received a letter from HRG, they reviewed them, we got a recommendation to award the bid to Kinsley.
Okay.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you, Kurt.
All right, well, that takes us down to item 12. Now, call on Christine Bowden to discuss the options wait list for Cumberland County Aging and Community Services. Christine?
Good morning. Due to another year of level funding and increase in cost, it will be necessary to implement a wait list for option services for fiscal year 2019, 2020. Our wait list policy is already approved by the Pennsylvania Department of Aging, which determines how people are added to the wait list, how they are care managed, and the process used to put services back into effect once more funding is available.
Commissioner, do you have any questions for me?
No, I mean, this was discussed at the recent Aging Advisory Board meeting. I knew that this was coming. I think a number of other counties have wait lists. It's unfortunate we're in this situation again. I just make this comment that, this is all funded by the lottery fund, okay, from the state lottery fund. And unfortunately, over the years, the General Assembly has chosen to shift general fund costs to have those paid for by the lottery. One of the big burdens right now for the lottery is Medicaid nursing home care, okay, which there used to be a piece from the state general fund budget that went along with the federal funds to support nursing home care. So as a result, programs like this, which are intended to help people stay in their homes, get cut. Generally speaking, our state lottery continues to remain the only lottery in the nation that actually benefits seniors, and they can say that because the funds do go, even if it's, but it was a previous general fund responsibility. It was a previous state responsibility. And in any event, I think that, it's a shame that we're not getting more support for these kind of programs instead of less. But as you mentioned, it's flat funding. We've got to, sooner or later, you can't do more with less. Bottom line. So, but I understand the need, the reason for the wait list. And unfortunately, we're just not getting, the kind of resources that we need from the abstain.
Any other questions? Thank you, Christine. Next, we'll move on to agenda item 13, and I will call on Shelby to discuss the approval of agreements for the Carlisle YMCA RACP project. Shelby?
Sure. So I'm here this morning on behalf of the IDA. We are requesting for the county to enter into a cooperation agreement and subsequent indemnification agreement relating to the $1.5 million RACP award that the IDA received for the Carlisle YMCA project. Historically, we've used the county since we are the county's IDA. We have to, the RACP program requires us to enter into an agreement with a local taxing entity.
Any questions for Shelby? Thank you, Shelby. Okay, next we'll move on to agenda item 14, which is a discussion of bid results. And I'll call on Rebecca Figbee to discuss the bid results for the inmate transportation contract. Commissioners, please note that this is an action requested item for today.
Good morning. The bid for inmate transportation closed on June 6th. The only bid received was through Easton Coach, which is our current provider. During the last bid process, we only received one bid, which was Easton Coach. The costs to the county are minimal to none. The cost of each ride are paid for by a federal subsidy and the inmate themselves. Occasionally, in very rare instances, we may have to absorb some of the costs through our room and board. If an inmate who's a domestic relations client leaves, that's how we cover the cost of that. So it's, there's no cap on the contract and there's no cost to the general fund.
And Rebecca, why is action requested needed today?
Because the contract expires June 18th, and if you approve acceptance of the bid today, the solicitor's office will be able to get Easton the new contract by June 17th and be in place, so there's no lapse in service.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Do we have any documents in our packet?
You didn't provide any documentation because all you have was like the
Bid package.
bid.
I could brief you on any changes to the cost per ride, if you would like that.
Or I can get the packet from Rebecca and copy and provide it to you for.
My concern is we're being asked to take action on something that we don't even have anything on it. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but, you know.
We'll make copies.
It's up to the board if you want to take action on this and realize clearly there's no cost to the county.
Yeah, there is a procedural process here. What's the, I'm sorry, did you say there's a deadline limit on this? Is this why action requested today?
The contract will expire June 18th, so there would be a lapse in service if we aren't able to get a new contract in place.
Well, okay, so why, I didn't understand, why is it that it's just coming to us now?
I had come before you to open the bid process before, and because of time constraints, the earliest the bid could close was June 6th, and this is the first workshop meeting that I could bring the bids to you for prior to the contract expiring.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, you know, the reason why we have a workshop is, you know, to discuss these things, if we have any questions or whatever, and we don't, you know, but this is a situation where, you know, and this kind of seems to be happening more often, where, you know, action is requested, like Vince said, we don't even have the paperwork. Now, it sounds like it's, you know, just a continuation of what we already have. So I don't have a problem along those lines, but I don't know why these things end up coming to us at the last minute, that's all.
What problem would there be to take action on the 17th?
I don't think the solicitors could prepare the contract and get it in time. I mean, that was the time frame we discussed, Keith, correct?
It was, it would be the first thing that we look do it as a Monday. I mean, I can't do the contract until Monday anyway, so it will be done, it'll have to be done Monday.
Sorry, Keith, you said.
Can we wait to act until Monday then? I mean, because I was gonna say, I mean, she's making copies and we can.
Till Monday afternoon? Yeah. I would rather have you do it now,
Okay,
because it'll be the first thing we do Monday morning.
I got you, okay.
All right, I'll just add to my colleague's comments that, we do know the expiration of these contracts well in advance, so there's really no reason for a time squeeze to the end.
I agree.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we, push this to the end of the meeting until we get, at least take a look at the paperwork.
Yes.
Okay, so then we'll move on to agenda item 15, discussion of capital project request, and I'll call on Daisy Bureau to discuss capital project request for the Sheriff's Department.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Sit here so I can spread some paperwork out. Okay, I come before you today to request purchase of a new vehicle and replacement of one. The total project cost is actually, and also purchase a K9 insert for a vehicle that's already in our vehicle fleet. Total project cost is $66,631.03. Giving a little background on this, we started with a 5-year vehicle plan 3.5, 4 years ago. And last year, we were in the 3rd year of that 5-year plan. I came before the board and asked for a replacement and an addition, and you granted a replacement, but not an addition. So in our 4th and 5th year, we were not going to ask for any vehicles. But with the 5-year plan, not adding the vehicle last year, pushed some of our mileages up. Some of the condition of our vehicles have changed, so that kind of altered our 5-year plan, which I updated and submitted to Sandy Moyle to give to you guys. And I hope you have a copy of the updated 5-year plan. So with this updated 5-year plan, it changed to, we're asking to replace vehicles for the next 5 years, and no additions. Due to some of our mileages on some of our vehicles and the condition of our vehicles are getting up pretty high. And specifically the vehicle that we're asking to replace this year is a 2013 Ford Explorer with 157,000 miles. And I know that doesn't sound like an old vehicle or high mileage, but this vehicle is really giving us some issues, some mechanical issues. There's a same vehicle we purchased same year with 20,000 more miles that over the last year has really given us a lot of maintenance issues, some safety issues. We've spent thousands of dollars over the last couple of years, actually 2 years on this vehicle. Within the last year, multiple issues, putting the vehicle out of service, to include, and I've submitted to you, we just recently replaced, we did $3,000 worth of repair work to it, timing chain, head gaskets, just that one day in the garage was $3,000 worth. I can go back over the last 20,000 miles of this vehicle to kind of give a heads up as to what's going to happen to the vehicle that we want to trade in. The vehicle that we want to trade in is actually doing what the brother vehicle did 20,000 miles ago. It's leaking fluid from the water pump, so we're looking at another $3,000 probably fix to this vehicle. So the other vehicle with 180,000 miles, obviously it has more miles on it, but we've replaced everything. We've done so much work to it that I think we can get some more usage out of it. That's why I chose to do the other vehicle with less mileage. For instance, the vehicle with 180,000 miles, it's of the same year. The check engine light has been on probably every 2 months for the last year. They've replaced codes in it, O2 sensors. That's $200 just 1,000 miles ago. 1,500 miles ago, it was in the garage again for check engine lights on, seatbelt replaced because the seatbelt latch was not working correctly. I can go back 5,000 miles, tire rods, another 5,000 miles before that, we spent another $1,000 on that car. So I have a laundry list of maintenance records for the brother vehicle, the vehicle that we want to trade in, that not only are we coming up on issues with this vehicle, probably to spend thousands of dollars fixing it to keep it in service. When it's out of service, it does us no good. It puts us behind a vehicle. We don't have a vehicle in service. And not only that, having our guys out in a vehicle like this on long trips with prisoners, I feel it's a safety concern. So that's why I chose this particular vehicle to trade in, because we're gonna have some major issues with this vehicle coming up, and we just put a bunch of money into the brother vehicle, hopefully to prolong the life of it and the safety of it. Now, the other project with this is the canine insert. We're not asking for a new vehicle for this, put this canine insert in. We're gonna use a vehicle that we have that has lower mileage on it, because the current canine vehicle, which is unit number 11, which is a 2006 Ford Expedition with 120,000 miles, that vehicle was given to us by the federal government through a grant. So that vehicle technically is not a county vehicle, so we can't trade that in. We would have to give that back. So this vehicle, most recently, the equipment is very old in it. The radio constantly goes off. We constantly have to get it serviced. Just 2 days ago, the vehicle's brakes went out. The brake lines were rusted through, and our canine operator was driving this vehicle down the pike, and the brake went to the floor. And luckily, he avoided accident by driving off the side of the road with our newest deputy beside him and the canine in the back. So we had it towed back to the garage and found out that the brake lines were totally rusted through and the brake fluid was leaking out, and that's why that happened. So this vehicle is a major safety concern for us, and that's one of the reasons why we want to get a canine insert to install in our vehicle number 12, which is a 2016 Ford Interceptor with 39,000 miles on it. So overall, I'm coming to you and ask to replace this vehicle, not any additions. I think it would be wise to do that now. If we hold off on doing anything more as far as getting a newer vehicle in our fleet, next year, I think our fleet will have possibly 4 or more vehicles with over 150,000 miles on it, and I might have to come and ask for 2 vehicles. I don't want it to be more of a burden on the county budget. I'd like to just do small replacements at a time, whether it's 1 per year, a replacement, rather than ask for 2 or multiple vehicles to keep our mileage down and our vehicles safe to be driven in. Any questions? I know that's a lot. I feel a lot on your plate.
You ever thought about different make or model vehicle? When I see Ford Interceptors, are these the best, most dependable vehicles we can purchase?
These vehicles, for the price of them and the cost of the maintenance, are the best out there. And I think you'll see that other agencies are getting these vehicles just because of the mass production of them. It's easy to move equipment around too, so when we do replace things, for instance, when we do want to get a canine insert, it's universal to put in a Ford Explorer. Those are the most popular vehicles in law enforcement that we're getting. And for the price of them, they're fairly cheap for what we can get them for as versatile as they are.
Where's our maintenance predominantly done?
Excuse me,
Where's
Gary?
our maintenance done?
At the county garage.
Okay.
Well, that's routine maintenance is done at the county garage, Gary. For instance, the major work, the head gasket, water pump, those type of issues, that's sent to the dealership. That $3,000 job was done at the dealership. I don't believe that was done in our county garage.
Okay.
Jason, was leasing vehicles ever looked into?
That was proposed, I know, by Sheriff Anderson. He wanted to totally lease our whole fleet. And I know that was a proposal at one point that was, I don't know that it was, looked at very well. I know it's proposed.
Because I spoke to Ron yesterday and asked him maybe to look into that, see.
Oh, he's a big proponent of that. He constantly is in my ear about the leasing of our vehicles
And maybe the least expensive way to go going forward, not for K-9 units,
Right,
but for the other cars.
right.
And, so he was going to check into that too as well, not for this particular one. but
Sure,
Down
yes.
the road. And then if things seem to work out, then we were going to ask, Enterprise to come in and do a presentation for the commissioners at a finance meeting, if it is feasible to go that route.
Sure, because like I said, if you look at our fleet, I mean, we have the vehicle, the 2013 with 182,000. We have two 2010 Ford Explorers with 169,000, 154,000. And it's not the mileage that concerns me as much as I always look at the mileage and the condition of the vehicles. I don't always just say, well, it has 169,000 miles, we need to get rid of it. I mean, that 2010 Ford Explorer is still in decent shape. I mean, it's not, it's giving us minor issues. There's no major rust underneath. There's no safety concerns that we can see on it. So I'm not really concerned with some of those vehicles. I don't want you to think that, you know, I'm coming in here with, well, that's got 169,000, we keep driving vehicles around, even though it's a 2010. The vehicle is, we're not taking it on long trips across the whole state, no. But we shift things around to try and keep those mileages down and keep the vehicles safe. And as long as they're safe for the most part, we're gonna try and keep them going as long as possible.
Commissioners, you have any other questions?
Well, yeah, I had a couple, and we can look at the lease option. What's the warranty we normally get on these vehicles?
The warranty.
Yes.
I don't know that it's a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranties or anything like that. I'm pretty sure it's in the line of like a 5-year, total, yeah.
Okay, well, I'd be interested in that, because this car you're talking about replacing is only about 5 years old, so. And we've been spending money on it, I don't know whether, that's why I asked you about what's the warranty, and we don't know right now, so.
Oh, I know that this particular vehicle's past its warranty. I do know that.
Okay, but it's only about 5 years old.
Right.
Okay, so, I'm looking at the mileage on the vehicles we have. I'm looking at this correctly, we have 16 vehicles all told for
Yep.
Sheriff's Department.
Yep.
And there's a wide disparity in terms of the mileage on these vehicles. It seems to me you have one that was, let's see where, well, I guess the older they are, the more miles they have on them, but we have the sheriff's car, for example, which was 2012, only has 46,000 miles on it. We got the chief's vehicle, which was purchased in 2016, which only has 25,000 miles on it. Do we ever look to kind of like move the vehicles around so that, not one or two are getting most of the miles?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the number 2 vehicle, the chief's vehicle, which is a 2016 Ford Interceptor with 25,000 miles. Last week, that vehicle was moved to Lawrence. Lawrence is driving that, and now the chief is driving car number 3, which is the 2011 Ford Explorer with 104,500 miles on it. So we just shifted those 2 vehicles around for mileage purposes and wear and tear, because the Lawrence guys are out a lot.
So what about number 12, 2016, 39,000 miles on it?
Yep, car number 12 is actually just moved. We moved that onto the 2 to 10 shift, so now that's going to start seeing a lot more mileage on it. Whereas that was a supervisor vehicle for the 2 to 10 shift, which it was out every 2 to 10 shift, but the supervisor wouldn't put as much mileage on it because they pretty much stayed local and addressed any issues locally. So that vehicle just probably 2 months ago was moved to the 2 to 10 shift deputies, which are out the road, and that's going to be getting a lot more mileage put on it. So we definitely, probably every month, I get together with Sergeant Kerr, who does the scheduling. We talk about vehicle mileages and moving vehicles around to even things out so that not one's getting hammered. For instance, car numbers, 7 and 10, the reason why they have high mileage on it, they started as our 2 to 10 vehicles out on the road every day, getting pounded, serving papers. We moved them off the 2 to 10 shift probably 2 years ago to start reining that mileage back in. So yeah, some of these real high mileage vehicles are not used for our heavy mileage situations where we move vehicles around. Car number 15, you'll see, which is our newest one, the 8900. That's being used for on our overnight shift right now. So that's our on-call deputy who's going out and doing bench warrant pickups all night long and in the evenings. So, we really try and move things around to try and, not hammer those high mileage vehicles and try to even things out.
So is the 2013 vehicle an Explorer or is it an Interceptor?
It's a Ford Explorer Interceptor. It's
the same thing?
Yeah, so the Interceptors are like it's a police vehicle, but it's an Ford Explorer.
Okay. If we're having so much trouble with these, why do we keep getting the same vehicle?
Well, I don't know that we're having trouble with them. I know we had a Dodge Durango before that we had in our fleet, and
well, most of these are Ford Explorers.
Yes, and like I said, the Ford Explorers, money-wise, you can't beat the price of them. I don't know that we're having major issues with them, other than when they're getting to real high mileage, then we're starting to see.
Well, we have at least 2 of them who say have this leaking issue with
Yeah.
the water pump.
Right.
That apparently somebody hasn't been able to fix properly.
Well, yeah, I'm not, I don't have a connection with Ford Motor Company to find out what the deal is with that, but I can tell you that for the most part, I feel that these vehicles have held up pretty well, these Interceptors, compared to some other vehicles, makes that we've had before. For instance, like our Dodge Durango that we had, and some of the other older Ford Explorers before even the 2010s, we couldn't get the mileage that we were getting out of these with the condition. Transmission issues with our older Ford Explorers, we were changing transmissions for those things, seemed like every 50,000 miles. So we're not having major issues with these. I think they've, for the most part, they've been pretty good to us.
Okay. Just a couple other questions. So, the vehicle cost is $35,376, which you said is a pretty good price for the vehicle. Of course, then we add in the emergency equipment installation, it's an additional $14,254. And then we have the mobile vehicles radio with installation, $4,280, and the ProVision in-car camera, $2,930, and the Dell mobile data unit, $1,747. And I'll leave the canine insert out of this for the moment, but that's $7,341. Those purchases, new radio, car camera, data unit, can't they be pulled out of the vehicles that we already have and installed in the new vehicle?
Good question.
Or do we have to, why are we buying new?
Good question, because that's something I looked at, and that I added those things back into this, because at first I didn't have that in here. The radio that's in car number 7 is not P25 compliant. It's, so if we would, the radio we're getting new put into this is P25 compliant, if we do go to that system. That radio is gonna come out of 7 and is gonna get reused, just not in this particular vehicle, because we have, we're gonna probably put it in car number 12, or car number 11, the Ford Expedition that I was telling you about, that's really not a county vehicle. We're gonna try and hold on to that vehicle, even though we're gonna use a different vehicle if we get this canine insert put in 12. We don't want this vehicle to transport prisoners, the Expedition. We don't, with all the issues in the rust, we wanna use it as a training vehicle. Keep it in our fleet. It's not a county vehicle, so we would just have to get it back. We still wanna use it though. So we want to put the radio from car number 7 in number 11 because car number 11's radio is malfunctioning and it's not working correctly. It shuts off. We constantly have to have Harris Radio come out and look at it, actually be Moyer Radio. So we want to reuse that radio out of 7 and put in 11. You said the camera system?
Yeah.
The camera system we want to take out of 7 and put into car number 12, which would be getting the canine insert put in it, because that doesn't have a camera system in it right now. And so it's not that I'm ordering new equipment and the old equipment, we're just gonna put it in a box somewhere. We're gonna reuse that equipment in vehicles that don't have that equipment or need it. So, either the equipment's not working, or outdated, or doesn't have it at all. So we are reusing that equipment, for sure. That was all looked at in this plan, and I did revise it, and I think I Tammy Bender a little crazy, she's not here anymore. But I added this, I had 2 or 3 different capital requests, because at first I was gonna, reuse it, put it in here, but then I realized that we needed to shift some things around with other vehicles to make it work best for the whole fleet. So I did look at that and did put that into consideration, for sure.
So if we went with the lease, and I don't want to take too much time, but if we ended up on the lease, how long would be the lease before? I mean,
That's stuff that he's going to look into.
Okay.
We haven't even discussed it. That was just.
Because I'm thinking
discussed
about all
yesterday.
the costs that go on equipping these vehicles too.
Right.
That if it's
Yeah,
like a
so-
3-year lease, you're gonna be faced with that additional cost.
Right, so this is just preliminary stage.
How much would it cost to fix this car from right now?
Fix which car?
The one you want to replace?
Well, initially, upfront, with this issue that's going on right now, it's gonna cost almost $3,000, just for that issue.
Now, you said item car number 6 is in good shape, right?
Yes,
Right, and that's being used by an SRO, which,
yes, well,
why don't we switch?
well, because that car number 6 does not have a camera system in it, it doesn't have a laptop in it, it doesn't have the technology that our deputies need on the road. So that's why we use that vehicle for SRO, because that SRO doesn't need the camera system, doesn't need the laptop, doesn't need certain things that our deputies need on the road. So that's why that would be assigned there. So although, some of these vehicles 4 and 6 are in I would say ideal condition, they're okay. Neither one of them have the equipment in that some of our newer vehicles have in it that we need to use on a daily basis. Our camera systems are very well being used. Guys are constantly coming to me, asking me for video, being used for court hearings, for backing up other agencies. Things are coming up where I need full video, and for transporting prisoners. I'm constantly pulling video on those things. Those things have really come in handy.
My concern is, vehicles apparently in time will need a new water pump. To me, this is typical maintenance. I don't like the fact, I know when the vehicle is bought, you get your service done at the dealership because they're under warranty. After warranty, maybe we should be looking at a different service vendor for these vehicles. There's a lot of good mechanics out there that, in my opinion, are better than dealerships and far more competitive in their pricing. And if we can get this repaired for $2,000-3,000 versus buying a new vehicle, that's something we have to keep in mind. I'd also like to see a report of the maintenance costs. Of course, we'll get some figures on the lease option, but that's my concern at the moment. Gary, do you have any comments on this?
I'm somewhat in agreement with what your statement is. The only caution I have is you don't want all your vehicles being high mileage vehicles either.
Right.
But I would like to explore the lease option. I think we have other options available to us, so let's do our darndest to pursue those.
I agree, and as far as your other options, I would be for that. My concern right now is if we don't add a vehicle, replace this vehicle, and I understand you're saying a water pump. This vehicle is gonna start having a lot more issues than just water pumps. It's gonna be out of service every couple of weeks, because car 10 was out of service every couple of weeks. Then we have to pull that off of the road. Then we have to use a vehicle that doesn't have a camera, and doesn't have a laptop in it to go out and road to serve papers, and we're doing everything manually, the old way, and it really puts us behind the 8 ball when it comes to being efficient. And whenever these vehicles are constantly being serviced because the check engine light's on and it needs an O2 sensor, it needs this or minor things, because we can't drive them that way. And the business we're in, transporting prisoners and out on the road with FTOs with us, with our newer deputies, and some of these issues are happening. I understand, you know, it's just a water pump, $3,000, but when these things go out and your vehicle's sitting down the pike, or you're almost rear-ending somebody because of a vehicle's got 160,000 miles on it, or it's got rusted brake lines, that's a concern of mine. So I'll just throw that out there.
Honestly, a rusted brake line shouldn't happen. I mean, inspection should be uncovering things like that. And I agree, you can't have vehicles out there like that, but, you know, what's the, now this vehicle that's under question, is that did we buy that new, or was that something we got elsewhere?
No, that was a new vehicle that we purchased.
All right. Okay. Now, on the ones we acquire elsewhere, I don't know how many of those there would be, but are we doing significant inspections of the quality of those vehicles when they come in?
Now, when you say we purchased elsewhere, there's only one vehicle in our fleet that was given to us via a grant. That would have been that Expedition vehicle, which we've had since 2006, but that was a brand new vehicle that was given to us from a dealership. So it's not like we don't purchase any used vehicles, if that's what you're asking.
I guess that was what I was saying, that's part of what I was asking. So, yeah, we always like to do that. Okay.
Yes, Gary.
All right. I guess I'd like to see some documentation from our county garage regarding, you know, their opinion on some of these vehicles.
Sure, I agree, Gary. I have a whole stack of printouts here for like I said, the brother vehicle, which is the car number 10, the 2013 Ford Interceptor that has the 20 more thousand miles on it. I have a whole stack of probably 50 invoices here that I have printed off that shows all the maintenance issues that have gone on with that vehicle that we're gonna be running into with this vehicle here within the next 20,000 miles, and the amount of times that it's been out of service. I have that here.
Okay, so the question before us is whether we're authorizing this vehicle purchase. And it sounds to me like the commissioners collectively have a number of questions that we need to have resolved first. So do we need to, is there any reason we can't defer the action on this and kind of get our thoughts together with a little more time so that we can address this in a pretty comprehensive fashion?
Yeah, the other thing I would just suggest too is maybe we look at a different kind of vehicle, or another vehicle. You know, just take a look, see what you said, that this is cheap or lower cost or whatever, but if we're having trouble, you know, with them and they're not lasting.
Well, this vehicle that we're getting is a Ford truck, crew cab truck, utility vehicle, and it's a responder truck. It's not an Explorer. So the reason why we've been wanting to get this, a vehicle similar to this nature for the utility of it, we can use this vehicle for range, for the road, for...
Okay, well, we didn't know that, did we? Did we know it was a truck?
No.
Well, you have a quote for it. It says it's a Ford F-150.
Yeah, there it is.
And this vehicle is very hard to get for law enforcement agencies. They have one at the dealership that they're holding for us. And we actually wanted to get this particular vehicle probably 2 years ago, and there was none available. Even the Interceptors are very hard to get. You have to pretty much, even through the dealership we deal with, you have to get on a waiting list, and sometimes it's a 6-month wait to get a vehicle out of their fleet from Ford. So this particular vehicle would go a long ways to do a lot of different jobs for our office.
I'm sorry, all I read was, Vince says it's somewhere here, but all I read was replace the
We can
2013.
We can defer action to Monday, if you guys would feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I see. So there's an urgency to this vehicle acquisition because it's called a fine, am I hearing that correctly?
Well, the reason I did an action request is because I wanted to submit this for the last meeting 2 weeks ago, but I was asked to redo a new 5-year plan. So, I've already had the dealership on hold for 2 weeks, with this truck sitting there waiting to be, upfitted for us. So it's kind of in a waiting period right now. Dealerships typically don't do that. If you're not willing to purchase a vehicle, typically they go to the next person in line.
Right.
And then
I think we've got some outstanding questions here in regards to our general practices as well as just the specific acquisition. So that's why I'm asking the question. You know, can we put our heads together and come up with all the questions that we have over a little bit of time and then gather our answers and decide, make a decision based on the parameters you're going to use for the next 5-year plan? I know it's not what you want to hear because this vehicle, the time with this vehicle. So, but my point, I guess, is we have 2 edges before us, really. There's the immediate vehicle procurement that we're talking about, but there's also the general questions we've had about maintenance, about leasing, and a number of things that we need to address as well.
Sure.
So the maintenance, I think you said John's been handling the maintenance, our facilities.
Yes. The
So-
general maintenance the routine maintenance are garage handles, the inspections, oil changes, tire changes, that kind of stuff. Anything that requires engine work or any major issues goes to the dealership.
You have paper copies of every time that's been taken and
Yes,
everything's been
yes,
done.
yep.
I think the commissioners are asking for that
Yeah.
information.
Okay. That can be done.
Now, the dealer is in Easton? Is that
Yes.
correct? Nobody around here has anything for us?
So we went down that road with actually with McCaffrey Ford down on the pike. We tried, I think 2 years ago, I think I was in the second year of the vehicle, management plan, tried dealing with them, and they don't have the ability to get vehicles in at a timely rate. Koch Ford, we did get a quote from McCaffrey. Koch Ford beat their price by, it was at least $2,000 to $3,000. So they're not even comparable price wise for this exact same vehicle.
And we've been getting our cars from them for a while.
Yep, ever since I started this 5-year plan, 3-4 years ago.
So when they need big maintenance, we send it to Easton.
No, it goes to a local, it goes down to L.B. Smith, I think most of the time does it, because Family Ford.
Is there a requirement we have to use dealerships for car repair?
That's where the garage, I think, requests us to send them to the dealership. I don't, as far as the county vendors, is there local mechanics that are county vendors that we deal with on a typical basis? We're just going by what the garage tells us, where they need to go to. Typically, they need to go.
I think these are some of the things we need to look at, because you can buy a vehicle that may be underpriced, but if there, shall I say, the potential of over-maintaining a vehicle, or over-repairing a vehicle, you can lose your savings really quickly. So, I think we need to look at some more of the system, the underlying system of how we're working with our vehicles. That's why I'm saying, you've got the immediate purchase decision, and you've got maybe based on the questions my colleagues and I are answering, they're asking, it sounds to me like we want to take a more in-depth look at the whole overall fleet maintenance. Or I should say fleet management, not just the maintenance. And this is not a slam at how you're good. You seem very well informed of this and very engaged in the process. I just wonder if we're putting systems in place that are serving us as well as they should.
I can tell you that when the cars go to the dealerships, the garage guys tell us typically that the dealerships are the only ones that can handle these type of issues, is what they tell us.
Who are the
They
garage
tell us,
guys?
they're the only ones
Our
who
county
can do
maintenance
it.
guys, at the county garage.
I can understand it's in warranty, you want to take it back to the dealership. But I don't understand it when it's out of warranty, why you would necessarily have to continue to go to the dealership. But
I know sometimes some of the answers are, well, we don't have the equipment to read this code or to replace this. It's only the certified Ford dealerships that are able to work on this problem and or be able to read the code and diagnose this. So that's a lot of the time the issue.
I'm not sure about that.
Me either. Sandy, can you check with John on that?
Yes. So, commissioners, did you want to put this off until Monday if we get everything that you need to review prior to Monday? Should we put this on the agenda for Monday?
Yeah, we have multiple items here, this purchase plus just what we're gonna do for the future as far as maintenance costs, lease option possibility, using someone possibly other than dealership. So that's probably part two.
Yeah, because it sounds like we're not gonna have all the information we need to link these two decisions together. We're gonna need a short-term decision and then better information to make long-term goals, which will take some time to accumulate. That's my point.
So the requested vehicle purchase, what I'm hearing should be, part one. We can decide that very quickly, and the rest will need probably a little bit of research.
Yeah, I mean, if they need this vehicle without any deferral, then we're gonna have to make a decision soon. We can perfect information. And then, try to perfect our systems again. So the question is it needed, is it truly needed now, or is it needed just on paper to keep us in compliance with the 5-year plan? It's sounding like you're struggling to keep the correct vehicles available at the correct time. And if that's the case, then there is a need.
I would say that's pretty accurate. That statement's pretty accurate. I think we're struggling to keep our vehicles, the fleet that we have. I think we're gonna run into an issue here soon with multiple vehicles that are gonna be reaching the, 170, 180, 200,000 mile mark with, some major vehicle maintenance concerns and or safety concerns, and then we might have to do a major overhaul of our, fleet, and I don't want it to come to that.
Yeah. We don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish, so.
Jim, any comment?
No, I think, I think we try to reach a decision by Monday if there's any additional information that we can. And then, I think it is true, this is kind of like a two-part process, So, it's not as though we haven't talked about our vehicle fleet before. I think it should be, we should be looking at this, holistically with respect to all of our vehicles in the county, which I think we've talked about before. But I'm good for right now, and I'll make up my mind before Monday, how's that?
All right, Monday will definitely take action on the vehicle, requested purchase. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep, and if Sandy just gives me whatever you guys need to help with that decision, I will do that ASAP.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, commissioners, we'll go back up to agenda item 14 for the inmate transportation contract. Rebecca is asking for action requested. I think Phil made a copy of the results, right?
Was this sent to Gary?
I sent it to Gary.
We were having trouble with the copier. I had to restart the copier machine with copy, so I'll get that to you, Gary.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just cut out a little bit because of the wind. So what was the issue again, which
Flo's gonna copy and send you the bid results so that you have the information. I guess the copy machine wasn't working right for her, so.
Okay, all right, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, and just so I understand, in terms of pricing, costs, and whatever, it's the same as before?
It is not the same as before. In 2015, when we put the bid out, the number of rides in the previous year were 33,818. In 2018, it was down almost 8,000 rides to 2617. What Easton Coach proposed to us were for rides that were 10 miles or less. Previously, the cost had been $6. In 2019, they would be $8.25. For rides that are more than 10 miles, they had been $10. Now they will be $12.50. What they did do, however, was the percent increases that are tied to the price of gas, was they eliminated the 4% increase for anything more than $2.50 or equal to $3, and they cut in half all of the other percent increases. And I essentially believe that that was to make up for the fact that the ridership is down because the prison population is down.
Okay, how long's the contract for?
It's a 3-year contract.
And it's from?
It would be June 19th of 2019 to June 18th of 2022.
And, you know, we've been happy with Easton, or with this vendor, right, Easton Coach Company.
Yes.
And are there any other options out there?
In the last 6 years, we've only received one bid from Easton Coach.
Gary, you should have received that,
I'll look for it here.
okay.
I gotta back out of the one thing I did.
Okay.
Rebecca, what was the total cost like this past year? Versus what, do we have a projection on the annual cost?
I do not actually have that with me, since it's paid for by the inmate and the federal subsidy. The majority of rides are 10 miles or less. And it was 26,000, so. $6. $156,000 to $200,000 perhaps, I would estimate.
So you have seen the contract.
No, the contract hasn't, you didn't make the contract up yet, right?
No.
It'll be done Monday.
That's right, you said that earlier, Keith, sorry.
Okay, so there's no cost to the county?
No, it's paid for by the inmate and a federal subsidy that we get $2.05 per ride. So the inmate receives $4.10 towards the cost of the ride for each round trip.
Gary, did you get the data?
I'm looking for it. Who did it come from?
It would have come from the commissioners on the Xerox, Gary.
Oh, so it's in the commissioner's, mailbox?
No, it would directly to you, but you'll have it come in, I think it comes in as the copier
It should say
commissioners.
scan document or
Yeah.
something like that.
Right, I do not have it, and connected, I don't know how it, so.
Well, I was gonna try to resend it to you.
Wait, Gary,
Okay.
yeah, I might send it to myself and then send it to you too.
Okay.
Go on to something else, Andy, like the liaison reports.
Okay.
And keep moving here.
Okay, yeah. So we'll move on to the commissioner's liaison report, and we'll begin with Commissioner Depot.
Thank you. Library board will meet Monday. Also, this past week, I had the pleasure and honor of attending the graduation ceremony for Project Search. This was the second year of the program. We graduated 5 more young men and women. It was a very, very nice event. Hats off to Sue Carball and all the folks who put that together and make this program a success. The only report I have is Western Council of Governments, which met earlier this week. The constant theme I heard from most of the townships was trying to deal with the flooding, stormwater, and the storms that came by, a lot of trees going down, etc. That was a constant message on the report. Mount Holly Springs now has a interim mayor, Herb Schultz. Also in Mount Holly Spring, they put a 3-ton weight restriction on Mountain Street. Southampton Township is underway with a code codification. Newville Borough, just a reminder, June 14th is their Fountain Fest, actually June 14th and 15th. And they are also going to have a car show in September, and the proceeds will go towards the Wounded Warriors Foundation. In Lower Frankfort, they are working on ordinance revisions. Shippensburg Township is getting a lot of business inquiries, probably due to the fact that casinos will be coming there in the near future. Cook Township is revising their comp plan, and they had some positive feedback on our planning department and also on our conservation district for assistance. In Penn Township, the Barrack Farm, which, as you know, has been the recipient of a lot of flood water runoff of a warehouse development. The developers provided a new pump in order to move water off the property until the detention ponds are built. So that's good news. Dickinson is reporting that their zoning and land development ordinances revisions are back now in county for county review. Things are going very well there. Again, more positive comments on our planning department for their assistance. And last but not least, Big Spring School District passed their budget with a 2.25% increase. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Depot.
Yes.
Gary, did you receive that?
I'm looking right now, I gotta hit a couple of buttons here.
And I sent them to you as well, Gary, just in the event that you didn't get it from the copier, so you'll see 4
Okay.
attachments.
Yes, I have it from you.
Okay, great.
Okay. Came through one page at a time, so it's a little goofy, but.
Yeah. So you should have like the bid form and then the non-collusion affidavit.
Or copy of the affidavit. Okay, there's the bid form, okay.
Great.
All right, I'm good.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, so.
What are you gonna do?
Would the board like to take action on the procedure, continuation, or process of the contract that's being requested, which will be completed on Monday, correct? All right, which we can still review then. The board wants to take action. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the continued contract with the Easton Coach Company.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any final questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, next we'll move on to Commissioner Hartslow for his liaison report.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. The statewide 911 advisory board met last Thursday over at the county headquarters. As you know, I'm a member of the state board representing all third and fourth class counties in Pennsylvania. But anyway, the optimistic news out of that meeting was that an apparent pending compromise has been worked out on reauthorization of the $1.65 per phone line per communication device fee that since 2015 has been providing substantial financial support for the operation of our 911 public safety answering points here in Cumberland County and throughout Pennsylvania. While both houses of the General Assembly have passed similar but not identical bills to reauthorize the 911 fee, a fee that will otherwise sunset, expire, go out of existence at midnight June 30, unless reauthorized. The word at the 911 board meeting was that the leaders of the emergency services committees in the House and Senate, agreed to a comprehensive amendment to both of the bills that would reauthorize the fee for an additional 4.5 years from June 30 of this year until January 1, 2024. Other elements of the proposed accord would add the state fire commissioner and the chair of the state geospatial coordinating board as voting members of the 911 advisory board. The legislation also stipulates that counties must cooperate with one another on the development of next generation 911 emergency service boundaries and cooperate with one another on the sharing of GIS data to support next generation 911 call routing and call delivery. While most of the 911 fee revenues come directly to the counties for 911 operations, 15% of the revenue remains reserved for statewide interconnectivity of all 911 systems under the proposed legislation. All we need now is for one house or the other to finally pass the other chamber's bill and get it to the governor's desk for signature before June 30th. It's important to reiterate how critical this legislation is to Cumberland County and all of Pennsylvania's counties. Without final action by the General Assembly on June 30, which is only about 2 weeks from today, we're looking at a $5.7 million hole in the Cumberland County budget. So we don't go back to the previous fees, it just comes to it, it stops. So while, at least I think most folks are on board with this, I hope it doesn't get tied up and stuck on the posturing that's going on right now and or the horse trading, and that somehow it gets delayed. I'm told that this should be separate and apart from the budget, but as I said earlier in the meeting, this is silly time over the General Assembly, so we'll see what ends up happening. In the meantime, and although final action is still pending, it does not appear that there will be any significant changes in the 911 fee distribution formula for the coming year, but PEMA is in negotiations with a vendor to implement a statewide call accounting system, and there is an expectation that call volume that's handled by each one of our public safety answering points will be one of the factors that could be part of the distribution formula in the future. Also, the funding subcommittee that I'm also a member of is working on the development of base level cost recommendations. At the end of the day, I'm delighted to note that to this point in time, since the passage of Act 12 of 2015 and the creation of the advisory committee, that among all the members there appears to be universal agreement that the funding distribution be as fair as possible for all counties, and that is a paramount goal of the advisory panel. The county's Farmland Preservation Board met yesterday and moved forward with the adoption of a hybrid ranking system for the 2019 program year that seeks to not only preserve the farms with the highest quality soils, but also aims to get the biggest bang for the buck and preserving more farm acres by extending so-called bargain sale offers to some farms that in many cases have been on the wait list for a number of years. As agreed to, a total of 9 farms will be preserved in the 2019 program, but the number of acres to be preserved will be 1,255, which is a significant increase in the number of farm acres preserved on an annual basis here in Cumberland County in recent years. 6 of the 9 farms to be preserved will receive offers of 50% of the normal easement cost to the county. In the meantime, all of the farms selected for preservation for the 2017 and 2018 program years should go to settlement before the end of this year. Field inspections of all of the county's 169 preserved farms have been completed. A full report is being prepared, should be available next month. And there was additional discussion about the event that's being planned for the fall to mark the milestone of the county reaching 20,000 acres of preserved farmland in perpetuity since the inception of the program in 1992. That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichelberger.
Sure. Just a handful of things. See here, of course, we're onboarding Jamie Keener as the new CEO at Cade, and that process continues. I have some involvement in that. Jamie came to the courthouse here and met with me and Crystal Quick, the board director, board chair, to start that process rolling and to ensure there's a good connection between the board and the board of commissioners, board of directors, and the board of commissioners. So that was a very useful meeting on Thursday. Executive committee met yesterday. I conversed into that as well, and pretty standard operational issues. I'll be conversing into Tuesday's board meeting as well, since I'll still be out of town at that point. Let's see. The planning, most of what we've discussed at planning is already come before you, but I'll just mention a couple of things that Kirk updated me on. The active construction for Orr's Bridge, of course, begins June 10. The flood insurance rate maps are in hand, and the meeting, I know you've been notified about this, the meeting with FEMA and the municipalities is set for June 26th at 10 a.m. I don't have a location as part of this note here, but I know we received a separate email on that. Also, Kirk wanted us to know 2019, he said they've been particularly busy with the land development plans, that so far this year they've received 35 more plans than they had at this point last year, and 10 additional ordinance amendments over last year's rate. completed, and that's in the hands of the authority members, myself included, and they're going to be discussing that at this month's meeting, and also we'll be passing along a recommendation for the county to move forward with the purchase of I'm not even sure what this piece of, a new piece of the yard equipment, a replacement piece of the yard equipment that we use, I guess it's the grinder, and that's what we typically pay for with our 902 recycling grant from the state. So they're recommending the same thing. They picked out this 4-bar 3400X, whatever that is. Can't say that I'm real well versed on that, but the documentation is in hand, and we'll be getting that recommendation from them for commissioner action in the near future. And let's see. I believe that looks like everything I have for now.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichelberger. I would like to report that executive sessions were held on the following days in 2019. June 4th at 2 p.m. and June 12th at 1:30 p.m., both regarding personnel issues, and June 5th at 2 p.m. regarding negotiations. I would like to request an executive session be held directly after this meeting regarding personnel issues. Under other business, I do have the National Park Service letter regarding the Appalachian Trail. We received a request from the planning department for commissioners to consider sending a letter to the National Park Service concerning an issue affecting the Appalachian Trail in Cumberland County. The NPS is proposing to demolish the Scott Farm Trail Center and close the associated trailhead located along Bernheisel Bridge Road in Middlesex Township. The location is important to help to facilitate maintenance of the Appalachian Trail, and additionally, Scott Farm serves as a trailhead for both the Appalachian Trail and the Connequinnet Creek Water Trail. So, in your packets, I have enclosed a copy of that letter to NPS, and Gary, you should have received a copy of that letter from Flo.
Yes, I received that and I reviewed it. It's fine with me.
Okay, and so we're just asking for approval on Monday to be able to send that letter out. So, if you don't have any other questions on that, I will ask, is there any other business to come before the board? Yes.
Sandy, I'm requesting we go back to contracts. I apologize, I missed discussing one of the contracts on there.
Oh, okay.
This contract is for family-centered services. Previously, the service was contracted through Agape Associates, Richard Daka, who retired effective June 30th. He's been working with the agency since before I started 23 years ago. The services he provided was family group decision-making, and Janelle Carbaugh, who used to be a supervisor with Children Youth Services, she resigned last year and has started this family-centered services to hopefully continue the service. It's for family group decision-making, which is where when we have a child come into care or a child that's in care, where we pull together families, services to help facilitate getting the child home quicker or help prevent a placement. This service is actually funded through an evidence-based grant. The cost the new service is requesting is a $5 increase over the previous provider, which is $100 an hour, and it's funded through the evidence-based grant. Are there any questions?
No, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so if there is no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.